Blinding, bright white light, painfully so, surrounded by darkness. She struggled to keep her eyes open, even the tiny slivers they were. Pain everywhere in her body. Her head felt as though it was actually split open. Noise, explosions, muffled shouts. She felt the sensation of moving, of falling. She grabbed onto something, an arm, a person. He came into her line of sight, momentarily blocking out that intense light. A man. His face leaned in close, the white light a distant halo around him. He was saying something, quiet, garbled words. Why couldn't she hear or understand him? He had kind eyes, hazel green, a helmet on his head like a soldier or SWAT would wear. His squared-off face was framed in a trim dark beard with a mustache over his lips that were still talking to her, words she still couldn't hear and didn't understand. He was handsome in a rugged, dangerous way. She was past the point of caring if he meant her harm. Darkness overtook her, and all the noise quieted. Bliss. "I'm Jackson. I'm here to keep you safe. Stay with me," he yelled above the gunfire, his face in hers as he cradled her in his arms. He easily lifted her petite frame from the floor. Her eyes had reclosed. "You got her, Jax?" came through his comms. "Roger that, Coop," he replied, his eyes shifting across the room to where Cooper laid down cover fire. "Exfil in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Coop counted down, and then a concussion reverberated through the room, while the bright flash stunned the tangos. Jackson bolted to the door, past Cooper, and cleared it without incident. He held her tightly to his chest, dead weight in his arms. "Watch her head," Doc's voice came through his comms. "You want to come take her?" Jackson demanded. "Just keep the head up and as still as possible. She's got one hell of a concussion." Doc's worried voice spoke as Jackson mounted the stairs, the first flight of the 8 he'd run up with her, 120 pounds of toned muscle and feminine curves clutched in his grasp. "I've got her," Jackson repeated with annoyance. This wasn't his first go-round with a concussion. He didn't need to be reminded. He heard the pounding of Razor's boots a flight up and Doc's and Coop's a flight down in concert with his own, interrupted with the intermittent gunfire echoing up through the stairwell. These assholes were tenacious. They really wanted her. His chest was tight as he pushed himself harder. The strain and fatigue cramped his leg muscles, and the heaviness of his breathing burned his chest by the time he reached the roof access door. Doc passed him on the stairs and stood holding the door open for him. The gust kicked up by the rotor blades of the Lakota UH-72A ahead battered his face and sent her long black locks wildly whipping through the air. The whirl was loud in his already deafened ears, drowning out all other sounds. Razor stood near the chopper, his M4 CQBR at the ready. The setting sun was an orange blaze behind his solid form. Jackson hurried over and slid in, seating himself way to the back of the bird on the floor, still cradling her in his arms. Doc crowded in beside him, immediately assessing her condition. Coop brought up the rear, with both him and Razor jumping in. The pilot pulled it off the roof before the doors were even secure. The craft banked sharply to the left, clearing the roof, and then it dropped below the roofline of the hospital, gaining speed.